The Orion sector had never seen a sight like it. Across the endless void, a small blip appeared on the Imperial scanners, a human ship. Not just any human ship, but one that had vanished a century ago. The Odyssey, thought lost in the distant fringes of space, had returned. In the high command of the Imperial Orbital Station above Elira 7, alarms blared and red lights reflected off the polished metal walls. Officials scurried along the corridors, their long tentacles, wings, or extra arms, depending on the species, moving with urgent precision. Yet despite their panic, none could hide the awe in their compound eyes as they watched the scans. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Krell, his scales rippling in disbelief. "That ship, it shouldn't exist anymore. It disappeared near the Kepler expanse 100 years ago." The council of scientists gathered nearby argued over the readings. "It's human, yes," said Dr. Valen, a tall, narrow-headed Zellarian, "but look at the energy signature. The propulsion, it's not like anything we've ever measured. They've advanced, far beyond what we expected." A soft hum echoed in the room as the Odyssey slowed in orbit, perfectly aligned above Elira 7. Its surface was sleek, a mixture of shining metal and strange panels that shifted subtly, as if alive. Windows, or what looked like windows, reflected the nearby stars. No ship had moved with such calm precision in this system before. The Empire's leaders, proud of their centuries of dominance, were shaken. Humans had been considered primitive, clever only in small ways, always reactive. Their explorations and early colonies had been noted, yes, but nothing had prepared the galaxy for this. High above the station, inside the bridge of the Odyssey, Captain Alina Cross adjusted her seat and looked at her crew. The decades had changed them all, but not their purpose. Time dilation from deep space travel had left them aged, yet steady, wise, and ready. "Everyone, check the instruments," she said. Her voice was calm, but her brown eyes were sharp. "The Empire won't understand our return. We must be careful, observe first, then decide." Her first officer, Lieutenant Raj Singh, nodded. Though his hair had turned silver and his skin marked by years of cosmic radiation, his hands were steady as ever. "Captain, the scans are clean. No weapons detected. Sensors show no sign of fleet interference. They're curious, afraid maybe, they don't know how to react." "That's exactly what we want," Alina replied. "Let them wonder, let them question. Humanity has always been underestimated. Let's remind them why." Meanwhile, the Empire's council argued about protocol. "We send a boarding party," Krell insisted. "We must take control of the ship. If humans have technology we don't understand, we cannot risk it." "No," said Chancellor Ryvar, his voice smooth and cold. "We need intelligence first. A frontal approach will provoke them. We must communicate subtlety first." The humans aboard the Odyssey were already one step ahead. They had observed the Empire's transmission patterns, studied the orbital defenses, and understood their thought processes better than the Empire itself realized. From her seat, Alina activated the ship's universal communicator. "This is Captain Alina Cross of the human exploration ship Odyssey," she said, her voice calm, resonant across the void. "We return after 100 years. We bring knowledge, but we require caution and respect." The council on Elira 7 froze. The voice was clear, human, yet different, older, wise, commanding. It carried authority not through threats but through certainty. What are they saying?" Krell whispered. "They want to communicate," Valen translated quickly. "They request respect." The Emperor's advisors murmured among themselves. Respect from humans. That was unheard of. Diplomacy, perhaps, but respect. Only the strongest species in the galaxy demanded respect, and humans were never among them. A small landing platform was prepared, and a delegation of alien envoys boarded the shuttle, shaking slightly as they approached the human vessel. The Odyssey's doors opened with a whisper, a soft sliding motion that seemed almost organic. Inside, the envoys were greeted by humans who looked surprisingly normal, though their calm composure and subtle smiles unnerved the aliens. There was no fear, no hesitation, only quiet confidence. Captain Alina stepped forward. "Welcome. Please follow us. We have much to show, but first we must speak." The aliens followed, their multiple limbs stiff with tension. They expected humans to be frail, reactive, nervous. Instead, these humans were steady, intelligent, and fully in command of their surroundings. "We have returned with discoveries," Alina said once the delegation sat in the observation hall. "We have traveled beyond the Kepler expanse, beyond the voids that no empire dares to explore. In our travels, we have learned much, not just about space, but about civilization, life, and the forces that govern the galaxy." The envoys whispered among themselves. None had expected such eloquence. Humans were always seen as impulsive, violent, and primitive explorers. And yet here they were, articulate, wise, and somehow powerful. One scientist, Dr. Valen, asked cautiously, "What do you mean by knowledge? Technology? Weapons?" Alina shook her head. "Not weapons. Knowledge that enables creation, not destruction. Navigation across light years with ease, energy sources that do not harm planets, communication that bridges species and worlds. We have learned how to connect, not conquer." The room was silent. The aliens, trained to fear human unpredictability, realized something startling. These humans had mastered the galaxy in ways no empire had imagined, and they had returned not to dominate but to share. Lieutenant Raj spoke next, showing the empire how human logic differed from theirs. "We know your empire's ways: control, fear, surveillance. We understand why you fear us, but your fears are based on assumptions. Humans are not like you. We create, we adapt, we survive always." The words were simple, yet profound. The envoys had never encountered intelligence paired with humility and courage in this combination. Outside, sensors detected subtle movements from the Empire's military ships, a clear sign of suspicion. They hovered near the Odyssey, ready to act, but the humans had anticipated this. Using the ship's advanced cloaking and energy modulation, the Odyssey remained untouchable, a silent guardian in orbit. "Captain," Raj said quietly, "they are preparing for an attack." Alina's eyes narrowed slightly, but her voice was steady. "Let them prepare. Let them think they can act. Humans have survived worse, and we always adapt. Observation first, action second. Patience wins wars the Empire cannot even imagine." The delegation returned to Elira 7 shaken. They had witnessed something remarkable. Humans who did not just survive the void, they had thrived. Humans who understood the balance between knowledge, power, and morality. And most unsettling of all, humans who had outpaced the Empire by decades, perhaps centuries. In the council chamber, Krell pounded his clawed hands on the table. "We must seize them. We cannot allow humans to hold such power." Chancellor Ryvar, calm as always, leaned back in his chair. "We cannot force what we do not understand. Perhaps it is time to rethink our approach. Humans are not what we believed. Perhaps we have underestimated them. Far too long." Meanwhile, in the depths of the Odyssey, Alina and her crew watched the galaxy with quiet satisfaction. They had returned, not for conquest, not for revenge, but to remind the universe that humanity had not been left behind. "Prepare the message," Alina said softly. "They must know we bring knowledge, but they must also understand the choice. How they respond will shape the future." The ship's communicator hummed. Across the void, the Empire waited with bated breath, and then, in a calm, clear voice that carried across space, "We bring knowledge the galaxy has never seen, but it comes with a choice." The message ended. Silence followed. For the Empire, it was a moment of uncertainty unlike any before. The humans had returned, and nothing would ever be the same. The Empire could no longer deny the truth. The human ship Odyssey hovered in orbit like a ghost of the past, its presence a constant reminder of the Empire's miscalculations. Behind closed doors, scholars, military leaders, and bureaucrats argued endlessly. They possess knowledge beyond anything in our archives, Dr. Valen said, her voice trembling slightly as she studied the data streaming from the Odyssey. Navigation systems that can cross star systems without time lag, energy sources that could power a planet indefinitely, communication methods that could link civilizations instantly. They are far ahead of us. Admiral Krell slammed his clawed hand on the table. We need to seize it. If we let them share it freely, our control over the Orion sector will collapse. Humanity cannot be allowed this advantage. But Chancellor Ryvar's cold eyes betrayed no emotion. Seizing them would provoke disaster. They are not like any humans we've dealt with before. They are organized, careful, and wise. We underestimate them at our own peril. Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey, Captain Alina Cross convened her crew in the main hall. The humans had returned not to fight but to reveal. Their mission was to show the galaxy what humans could achieve without cruelty, greed, or domination. Prepare the first demonstration, Alina said. They need to see, not just hear. Words alone will not convince them. Knowledge must be tangible. Lieutenant Raj Singh activated a holographic display. Planets rotated slowly in space as lines of light connected distant star systems. This, he said, is a map of faster-than-light routes we have charted beyond the Kepler expanse. Distances that took centuries to traverse before, we can cross in months, weeks, even days. And these are safe, stable pathways without destabilizing space itself. The Empire's delegation, watching through the observation ports, gasped. Their calculators, computers, and arcane instruments had never measured anything like this. The humans had discovered ways to traverse the galaxy that the Empire had only dreamed of. Dr. Valen leaned closer to her console, her eyes wide. This changes everything. With these routes, humans could reach any sector without restriction. Our patrol fleets, our checkpoints, they are useless against such speed and precision. Alina nodded slowly. And that is only one part of our discoveries. We have also developed energy systems capable of powering entire cities without pollution, depletion, or danger. Systems that rely on the natural harmony of space itself. She gestured, and a small cube hovered above the table, glowing faintly. Energy pulsed softly, humming in tune with the environment. This is a miniature core. It could supply power to a city, a planet, even a fleet. And it is safe, stable, and infinitely scalable. The Empire's delegates exchanged fearful glances. For the first time, they realized that humans were not just survivors. They were creators, innovators, and visionaries. One of the envoys, a tall, multi-eyed diplomat named Xyler, asked hesitantly, "And why do you share this? Why return with secrets that could topple governments?" Alina smiled faintly, but her eyes were sharp. "Because we believe knowledge should be used to build, not to destroy. The Empire relies on control through fear. We offer an alternative, cooperation, understanding, and progress, but it is your choice how you respond." Admiral Krell's claws twitched. "They are mocking us. They cannot be trusted," Chancellor Ryvar sighed. "Trust is not required. Observation is sufficient. Humanity's logic and ethics are unlike anything we have studied. It is worth learning from them before deciding how to act." Lieutenant Raj continued the demonstration. "Our communication system is the final piece. It allows instant contact across star systems without relying on relays or slow signals. Entire civilizations could coordinate, share, and thrive in ways your empire cannot imagine. Conflict could be avoided before it begins." The envoys were stunned. For centuries, the empire had ruled by maintaining distance, creating isolation to control populations. Humans had discovered a method to break that isolation, not for conquest, but for unity. Back in the council chamber of Elira 7, whispers filled the room. They are beyond us," said one military officer. "We cannot hope to match this." And yet, Ryvar said quietly, they offer it freely without demands. They are teaching us. Humans are not our enemies, but perhaps our superiors in more ways than we expected. The Empire's internal divisions grew. Some factions urged immediate action, capture, control, or destruction of the humans before they could share their knowledge. Others argued for diplomacy, careful observation, and learning from the humans' morality and ingenuity. A secret fleet prepared for action, cloaked and armed, ready to strike at the Odyssey at a moment's notice. But the humans had already anticipated such moves. The ship's sensors had detected every fleet maneuver, every hidden patrol, every attempt at stealth. Alina turned to Raj. They think they can corner us. Let them try. Humanity survives, adapts, and overcomes. Observation first. When the moment comes, we act, but on our terms, not theirs. Days passed, and the humans continued their demonstrations. They taught the Empire scientists how to stabilize energy fields, navigate dangerous wormholes, and construct communications grids that spanned multiple star systems. The aliens were astonished. Never had they witnessed intelligence paired with ethics, ingenuity, and patience. Humans combined creativity with careful judgment, producing solutions that were elegant, effective, and humane. Xyler, the diplomat, spoke privately with Alina. Your people are unlike anything we know. You do not seek conquest, yet you surpass empires. You do not demand obedience, yet others follow your example. Why are humans like this? Alina looked out at the stars. We have survived because we create, not destroy. We have thrived because we adapt, not dominate. Humanity is flawed, yes, but we also see value in understanding, cooperation, and progress. Perhaps that is why we endure while others fall. Meanwhile, hidden sensors revealed the Empire's fleet preparing to strike. The humans watched silently, calculating, analyzing, waiting. They had no weapons, but they had something far more powerful: foresight, knowledge, and ingenuity. When the fleet made its move, the Odyssey demonstrated a subtle yet brilliant maneuver. It appeared to vanish from orbit, leaving the Empire's ships in confusion. Cloaked and undetectable, the humans had anticipated every action, turning potential disaster into an elegant display of strategy. Back on Elira 7, panic erupted. They are gone. How is this possible? They cannot have disappeared, Krell shouted, his voice breaking. Ryvar remained calm. They were never ours to control. They act according to their own rules. Humanity is not like us. Perhaps we should have learned this sooner. From their hidden vantage point, Alina and her crew transmitted one final message to the Empire. Knowledge is offered to those who seek progress, not oppression. Choose wisely. The future belongs to those who learn, not to those who fear. The Odyssey then disappeared into the void, leaving the Empire's scientists and leaders to contemplate the magnitude of what they had seen. Humans had returned not to dominate, not to conquer, but to reveal a new way of thinking, one that combined intelligence, morality, and courage. In quiet observation posts across the galaxy, other civilizations began to take notice. Aliens who had once dismissed humanity now studied the reports with fascination. The humans' actions were simple, yet profound. They demonstrated that progress could exist without violence, that knowledge could be shared without control, and that courage was as much a part of humanity as ingenuity. For the Empire, it was a moment of humiliation, but also a revelation. Humans had surpassed them not through fleets or armies, but through wisdom, foresight, and ethical innovation. Alina stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching the stars stretch before her. They saw only what they wanted to see, she said, but now they have glimpsed the truth. The galaxy will never forget humanity's return. Lieutenant Raj smiled faintly. And the best part, Captain? What is that? Alina asked. They think they can control us, but they cannot. Not now, not ever. The Odyssey moved silently through the darkness, a ghost ship carrying knowledge that could change the galaxy forever. And somewhere in the hearts of those who witnessed it, awe and fear intertwined, because humans were no longer just survivors. They were pioneers, teachers, and a force the galaxy could not ignore. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Alina whispered softly to herself, "We have shown them what it means to be human, and this is only the beginning." The galaxy had begun to whisper. From the farthest edges of the Orion sector to the glittering cores of densely populated systems, civilizations talked of the humans who had returned after a century and changed everything. They spoke not of violence, not of conquest, but of knowledge, courage, and morality. The Empire, once confident in its control over countless star systems, struggled to adjust. Their fleets still patrolled the sectors, their bureaucrats still drew up endless plans, but all their calculations had failed. Humans had vanished before they could be captured, leaving behind only glimpses of impossible technology and a single, haunting message. Knowledge is offered to those who seek progress, not oppression. Choose wisely. Inside the Odyssey, Captain Alina Cross observed the galactic networks from the ship's bridge. Unlike any fleet before, humans did not rush to take power. They had learned the value of patience and observation. They had learned that fear and aggression were often weaker than intelligence and understanding. Lieutenant Raj Singh looked at the charts spread across the holographic display. "Captain, we've monitored the Empire's responses. Some factions want war. Others are reconsidering their entire approach to governance. They've begun debating openly whether control through fear is sustainable." Alina nodded. "And that is the point. Our mission is not to conquer, but to awaken. Fear blinds, knowledge frees." Humans have always understood that. Now others may see it too. On Elira 7, the Empire's council chambers were a storm of tension. Scholars, military officers, and politicians argued fiercely. Krell raged as he spoke, his voice trembling with frustration. "We cannot allow humans to dictate the galaxy's future. Their technology, these FTL routes, their energy systems, they make us irrelevant. Our fleets are useless against them." Chancellor Ryvar remained composed. "Perhaps irrelevance is not the worst outcome. Humanity is teaching the galaxy that power without wisdom is meaningless. Perhaps it is time to rethink our priorities." Outside the Empire, across multiple systems, humans had begun small acts of change. They broadcasted educational and scientific programs, showing species how to harness energy safely, communicate efficiently, and explore space without destruction. Each signal was carefully tailored, demonstrating the principles of creation, cooperation, and morality that defined humanity's strength. It did not take long for other species to take notice. Planets once oppressed by imperial control began experimenting with these technologies. Civilizations that had been isolated suddenly found themselves connected. Trade, communication, and mutual learning began in ways the Empire could not stop. The Empire's intelligence networks reported a steady increase in independent colonies adopting human methods. Entire planets were constructing energy grids based on the humans' designs. Civilian ships began using the Odyssey's faster-than-light navigation principles. Communication networks, once fragmented, were now linking multiple star systems almost instantly. Krell slammed his claws on the table in frustration. "They're spreading it. Every system they touch weakens our control. Humanity is outsmarting us without firing a single weapon." Ryvar sighed, looking at the star charts on his desk. "That is precisely their strength. Humans do not conquer, they inspire, and inspiration cannot be destroyed by fleets or force." On the bridge of the Odyssey, Alina watched a holomap showing the spread of knowledge. Every species they thought would fail, every planet they wrote off, now thrives. This is what humanity has always been capable of, not domination, not destruction, understanding. Raj smiled faintly. "And the best part, the Empire doesn't know whether to fight or learn. They're paralyzed by their own fear and curiosity. Even the Empire's most loyal military factions found themselves torn. Officers who had spent decades patrolling, enforcing control and suppressing civilizations were now forced to consider alternatives. Could humanity's way work? Could intelligence, cooperation, and morality replace fear and domination? Some quietly began experimenting. They studied the humans' energy systems, implemented navigation techniques, and even attempted small-scale communication grids. Slowly, pockets of the empire were changing from within, not by human conquest but by human example. Far from the empire's eyes, Alina activated the Odyssey's communicator once more. "To the galaxy," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "We offer tools, knowledge, and guidance. To those who seek progress and understanding, take it freely. To those who cling to oppression, consider carefully the path you choose. Humanity acts not for power but for the potential of life itself." The human's message spread like a wave. Across star systems, species once fearful of alien neighbors now began working together. Conflicts that had persisted for centuries started to fade as communication and shared technology bridged gaps. Humanity's principles were simple yet revolutionary: create, understand, adapt, and respect life. Even the empire's leaders began to feel the pressure. The factions that had resisted change found themselves increasingly irrelevant. Their fleets, once symbols of unstoppable might, were now redundant against a galaxy empowered by human ingenuity. Krell's fury reached a peak. "We cannot let this continue. Humanity must be stopped." Ryvar shook his head slowly. "Stop them. They cannot be stopped. The humans have already changed the galaxy. Even if they vanished tomorrow, their influence would remain. Their strength lies not in weapons, but in thought, creativity, and morality. That is a power no fleet can overcome." The Odyssey, hidden in the uncharted void, continued its quiet journey. Alina walked through the ship, observing her crew. Scientists monitored communications, engineers refined energy systems, and navigators charted new star routes. All were united by one principle: progress without harm. "Captain," Raj said softly, "we've reached the edge of mapped space. Beyond this, no empire has dared to explore. Shall we continue?" Alina smiled faintly. "Always, humanity moves forward. Curiosity, courage, and care guide us. Let the empire reflect on what they have learned. We will continue to show the galaxy what is possible." As the Odyssey drifted through the dark expanse, civilizations across the stars felt a subtle shift. Humans had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers. They had reminded the galaxy that survival was not enough. Progress was possible when intelligence, morality, and courage were combined. Across multiple worlds, the words of the humans echoed: "Knowledge is offered to those who seek progress, not oppression." The empire, once proud and confident, was forced to reconsider every principle it had long taken for granted. Fear had driven their control for centuries, but now inspiration challenged their authority. Human ingenuity had not destroyed them. It had exposed the limits of their thinking. Even among the empire's highest councils, the whispers began: "Perhaps they are right. Perhaps control through fear is not the future. Perhaps there is a better way." Alina watched the galaxy unfold before her. "We have returned," she said softly, "not to rule, not to destroy. We have returned to remind them what humanity can be." Raj looked at her, admiration in his eyes. "And the galaxy is beginning to see it." The humans continued their journey, not as conquerors or rulers, but as pioneers, teachers, and guides. Each planet they touched, each civilization they assisted, became part of a growing legacy, proof that intelligence combined with morality could change the galaxy. In the Empire's council chambers, Krell finally slumped in his chair. We cannot stop them." Ryvar nodded, a faint smile crossing his features. "No, Krell, we cannot, but perhaps we can learn from them. Perhaps humanity has shown us a path we never considered. Perhaps the future is not ruled by fear but by understanding. And far away, the Odyssey sailed silently among the stars, a beacon of possibility. Humans had returned not for glory, not for conquest, but to remind the galaxy of a simple truth. The greatest power lies not in fleets or weapons, but in intelligence, courage, and compassion. The galaxy watched, amazed, as humanity's legacy began to unfold. And for the first time in centuries, the stars themselves seemed to whisper a single message. Humanity has returned, and the universe will never be the same.